I'm really glad that you picked that scripture. I'm glad you reorganized them for that to be the one before this conversation, because I feel like that whole idea of it's going to be okay and it's not going to be okay is such a critical message for me around prayer and how we think about prayer. There's a story you wanted to tell, you wanted to talk about. Open it up.
Okay, this is the last little piece I have. I have had many times where I've gone under anesthesia for one or another reason. And each time I had to step out in faith with courage and pray and prayer. As you can see, I have made it through it. There also have been times that I've had to have courage for others, including my Uncle Wayne, my mother, and especially for my father. Those were the most difficult decisions I had to make. It took a lot of courage and a lot more prayer. It must have worked, because after all was over, my sister and I have had great communication. As some of you know, we didn't start out that way. And my brother and I have communicated off and on since then. I'm still praying for multi-communication with him and his family. And hopefully that will happen sooner than later. God continues to be my God. I wish I could say in all things, but I don't always remember to pray. I know I am not perfect and never will be.
You know, one of the things I've been thinking about a lot lately about prayer, I love that you picked prayer and courage to put next to each other. I read something recently that said, bravery does not mean the absence of fear. In fact, by definition, you can't be brave unless you're afraid, because otherwise you're just like, okay, no big deal, right? You have to have some fear in there. It's about what you do with the fear, in response to the fear. I think almost even next to the fear, while you're feeling the fear. I think it's so funny that in the Bible, there's so often the angels like, don't be afraid. It's this giant celestial terrifying thing. All these chubby cherubs, that is not angels of the Bible. I think the Bible are scary. Lots of eyes, lots of wings, blowing, throwing fire in people's mouths. It's terrifying. So I think about that and that the relationship between fear, anxiety, and our ability to be courageous and brave. I'm curious how that has kind of factored into your own prayer life and what the role of fear and facing fear has been in your own growth as a prayer warrior.
I remember we talked about this.
Whatever will top of your mind.
Well, everyone here has been praying for me for over 8.5 months about getting the Omicron. And all those beats you were hearing were my Omicron telling me something was happening. Sorry, I can't hush it because I might be in trouble.
Probably should.
Right. I want to say it is great to have it, but the big part was the frustration, the 8.5 months of going through every hoop I thought I had to go through. And finding out in the end that I had to have Part D of Medicare. Well, the time I signed up for Part D was over. So I had to have the courage to just step out and purchase it on my own. But I'll tell you, I am so thankful I did that. I've had quite a few ups and downs in the weeks since I got it. But we're learning. It's on a learning curve right now. And anyway, I want to thank everyone here for all the prayers. The thing about this is, even though I was praying that I get it through Medicare, God didn't answer that prayer. He answered it in a different way. It was in a way that I had to pay for it. And believe me, it's no worse than having to pay for a new phone.
You know, one of the things I notice for a lot of people about their barrier to prayer is often either, you know, praying for themselves, but really it's that like the sense of almost entitlement that they feel that they're worried they're going to have through prayer. I don't know how much of this happens for the rest of you, but that kind of like, it's anxiety producing for asking for what you want or what you need. It's easy to do that for other people, right? Oh, I see them suffering, I see them hurting, I see them afraid, I see them having this possibility of this new thing. I want the best for them, I want the best for them, I want the best for them. But then when it comes to ourselves, often we really struggle to do that for ourselves. And then especially when the thing we wanted or think we wanted doesn't happen, and we're like, ah, this is a big stupid waste of time anyway. You certainly have a lot of things that you've been praying for that haven't come to pass or have come to pass much later in a very different way. How do you keep up your kind of sense of encouragement in the midst of it? And it doesn't look like it's working, but also you don't really, you're kind of starting to wonder whether this is a broken record for you and maybe something needs to change for you. How do you keep up your encouragement?
Well, most of the time, if it's something specific, I know about it, I'll pray about it. But as I said in my article, I'm not a great prayer person. If you want me to get up in the morning and pray, if you want me to pray at night, I can't do that. I've tried many times. It just isn't within my purview. And when it comes to something I need or something someone else needs, I will pray. And I will pray whether it be the small parking spot or the large omnibus. They all have a need, and whether it be mine, as I said, someone else's. So I don't know if I answered that question, but
it sounds like being encouraged or confirmed that God cares about your prayers, big or little, is not a struggle for you, that God's listening. So tell these folks, I asked you this question a bunch of times. What is the good news? At the end of the day, based on all the things that you've just shared with us and your thoughts about prayer and courage, what is the good news you've gotten from Jesus in participating in Christian community?
my good news is I know God is there. I know that He will answer my prayers. He has. I also know that it may not be the answer I was looking. But in all things, when I pray, I know that God hears me. And I know that. I've had it answered many a time. The housing, the I'm not gonna go on. I could tell you many times these answers my prayer. And I love them for it. I said that it was hard, especially when we were praying for my dad. We found out the same day that he went into the hospital from the caregiving facility that he had broken his hip and no one had figured it out. The doctor came in and took one look at him and said, "When did you break his hip?" We had many choices and one was surgery. But at 98 and a half, that wasn't a good idea. So my sister and I sat and sang for him. Sang too. We often sang duets in my life. And then we each told him he didn't have to stay there. He could go on to heaven and not be in pain anymore. And that night he did pass away. So that's the one real answer to prayer that we got.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.